Okay, welcome. Drink with James, episode 149. I am in the great north here. I am in Hudson, New York for Design Hudson. We brought a small group of influencers up here to kind of kick off a weekend here. It's the second annual Design Hudson event. And if you haven't been to Hudson, New York, then you don't yet know what you're missing. I've been up a few times. It's this amazing town 2 hours north of New York City. They've got great shopping. They've got great antiques. You're right in the middle of, obviously, the Hudson River Valley, which is made famous by every landscape painting you have ever seen. And it's just this like really cute town that has exploded over the last 20 years or so. And this festival kind of takes all of the interesting things that are happening in Hudson, and then something else that's really cool is there's all these amazing old homes from the 1800s, and they kind of open those up for one time during the year, and you can go and see all these things. So if you're someone who likes architecture, design, or is just really nosy, you should definitely come up here next weekend. If you do come up next year, you should absolutely try and stay where we are right now. We're in the Rum Room, which is brand new, of the William Farmer and Sons Hotel. It's actually the William Farmer and Sons bar room and boarding house, which I actually love that, you know, the couple that started it is a chef and his wife, and I love that they started a bar and restaurant, and then the idea was just like, oh, you'll like eat so much and get so drunk that you won't be able to go home, so we'll just like get some rooms in it as well. They didn't like set out to start a hotel. They set out to make a place so fun and great that you'd want to get so drunk that you could just like stumble upstairs into a bed. So I appreciate the philosophy. The place is beautiful. The bar was built by Sasha, who started really, I think I've actually talked about him before on the show, started the like craft cocktail scene in America. Milk and Honey was one of the first true cocktail bars in America. And he's, passed away a few years ago. This was the last project he worked on, but that bar really changed the way Americans thought about drinking. And so, the original Milk and Honey is a block from my apartment. His other bar in the West Village, Little Branch, was one of the first nice bars I ever went to. So cool to be up here in the last project that he worked on. So the cocktails are going to be amazing. The place was started by a chef. The food's going to be amazing. The place is adorable, and you get off the train, and it's a block from the train station here. So any New Yorkers who you're crawling out of your skin a little bit, you need to get away from the weekend, come up here. They're not paying me to say this, because who would pay me to sit and drink and pitch their hotel? But I'm impressed. I love it. And we're excited for the Design Hudson team to bringing us up here. We've got, it's 5 o'clock now, and I'm starting on a flight of bourbons from the Hudson River Valley. So you can assume how the rest of my evening is going to go. I think I have to drink for another 6 hours. So this video will come out after this evening, but I hope it ends well for me. We'll see. I'm wearing kind of like white pants, so I have to be generally like, I can't like, go roll around in the grass or something, so I have to take care of myself to a small degree. When we were coming up here, we were thinking about like, what do we want to talk about in the show? And, we thought we wanted to kind of talk about gifting, because this is an experience that, the team from Design Hudson is not paying the influencers came up here. They're not paying Fohr to do this. This is just a cool opportunity, and we wanted to support it. And thought it was an interesting time to kind of talk about doing things for free, right? We've also heard from a lot of our clients recently that running gifting campaigns is getting increasingly difficult. And that's certainly a new thing where like influencers are just straight up not doing things for free. My first caveat and thing to say is that like that is the wrong attitude. I know that there is this like, this is my job and like I deserve to be paid, and that is totally true. But if you're taking the stance of like, I don't do anything for free, I think you're doing yourself a big disservice. There is a right and wrong way to think about gifting. There's a right and wrong way to interact with the brands that are trying to get you to do things for free. And there's a right and wrong way to turn those partnerships and relationships into something that can bear fruit and can help you pay your rent down the line. So we're going to talk about that today, a little different format than we usually do, and just having a themed show. Let's get into it. Question number one is, how should I respond to a brand that reaches out and trying to get me to do a gifting campaign? So I think first thing, and this is fundamental to any sales conversation that you are having, is that like you have to first like understand the power balance of the relationship, right? Like, does this brand, is this brand a really established, loved brand that has more kind of clout than you do? Or are they a brand new brand and you're a big influencer and they want to use your position in the industry and your audience to try and pull their clout up? Those are two really different scenarios, and I would treat them in two different ways, right? Like, obviously if Chanel reaches out and says they want to send you a bag, you're not going to send them your price sheet, obviously. And that's an extreme example, but there are more nuanced ones, and I think understanding the power balance is super important to being able to do this stuff effectively. So a brand reaches out and they say, hey, I want to send you something. I think that like first, I've talked before about how I hate unboxing videos. I think they're trashy. I think they're boring. I think they're lazy, and I would love to not see them anymore. So I think the first thing is that like you should not take the product if you don't want it and you don't think that you would post about it. If there was no way you're going to post about it and you're just going to give the product to your assistant or to your mom, I don't think you should be taking that product. I think it's a waste of your time. It's a waste of the brand's time. And it's just like disingenuous. So like you should first kind of put yourself in that mindset of being like, would I in any way incorporate this into my stories or into a post? If no, just respectfully pass and say, right now I'm not accepting gifting. Thank you so much. Keep me in mind for future paid opportunities. That's an easy, classy way to like get out of that. I think a lot of influencers, what they do is they reach back out and they say like, do you have a budget? Again, I think that is not the way to do it. You have to understand the steps of a relationship, and like part of the sales relationship is validating yourself and building trust with that partner. So asking for money before you've ever talked or before you've done any work for them is probably not going to like bear fruit for you. Again, also do some research on the brand, figure out if you think they have money. Like dig into the brand a little bit, see how long they've been around before you go out asking for money. Certainly if Procter & Gamble is reaching out to you, yes, they have marketing budgets, but if it's a brand that looks like it launched 6 months ago, then asking for a budget is probably, a waste of your and their time. So I think understand like what is the possibility that this could turn into something bigger. Now, if it is a brand that you think you would want to build a relationship with, again, I always would stress to try and get on the phone, try and talk to them, try and start to build a relationship, because again, it's really hard to just sell people right away. It's much easier once they know you. So if you think there's an opportunity there, try and push them to get on the phone, try and talk it out. Say, hey, I don't usually do gifting, but I'd love to get on the phone and talk about this and see what the kind of possibilities are for the future. Another way to build a relationship with the brand, if you think that it is somebody that could down the line be a good partner for you, is to accept the gifting and commit to doing something and proving to them that you're invested and that you're interested. I think that like it's a two-way street. I think that gifting has become this kind of gross thing, and some of it is the fault of the influencers and some of it is the fault of the brands. And I think for the most part, everyone is treating things too transactionally, of just like, brands are just like, I'm gonna send this shit to an influencer and get them to post it on their stories. And influencers are like, I've never heard of you or heard from you before, but I want you to pay me immediately. So I think in general, thinking longer term and saying like, is this a partner that I wanna build a long-term relationship with? If yes, let's move the conversation forward. If no, respectfully decline and move on. it is incredibly important, again, in any negotiation. I think you have to be able to see yourself from someone else's point of view. And as an influencer, you have to understand like how entitled and bratty you sound, like to brands. And I think in some cases, influencers can be entitled and bratty, and in some cases, brands have completely unrealistic expectations about what an influencer should do for free. And there's a middle ground there, and I'd love for us to get there, but it's become fairly toxic, where brands are like, fuck these influencers. Like, every time I try and send them something that's worth $500, all they do is ask for payment. And again, part of this is also understanding where your following's at, right? Like, if it's a $500 product and you have 20,000 followers, then that product is worth $300 more than I would ever pay you for a sponsored post. So like, if you want the product, they're kind of paying for it. If you don't want the product and you don't think it's worth $500, then like, move on. But like, everyone, and again, I just sent an email to brands about gifting today, and I'm yelling at them too, so like, don't feel like I'm just yelling at influencers, but like, you have to root this stuff in reality and understand what is reasonable. And being an influencer with 15,000 followers, sending back prices when a brand reaches out for gifting is ridiculous. It's like a 22-year-old coming in for an interview and being like, cool, can you show me where my office is? It's like, you don't get an office. You're 22 years old. Like, you'd be lucky if you get a coffee cup. So understanding where you're at is super important to doing this stuff in a way that feels genuine and honest. I'm gonna skip to the expensive stuff real quick. That's nice. Speaking of sponsorships, Hill Rock Distillery, if you'd like to sponsor me, please write me, james@fohr.co. I do accept gifting. I'm shameless. I'll take anything. Okay, question number 2 is, what do brands actually expect even when they say they're not expecting anything? So I think there is this, what happens a lot is influencers are like, I love the product, I'd love to have it. Just to be upfront, I can't promise anything coverage-wise. And the brand says, totally understand, just want to get it in your hands and let you know the thoughts. Again, back to point 1, you shouldn't accept the product if you don't think you're going to post about it. Like, then you're just kind of stealing. It doesn't help the brand if you just use the product and don't talk about it. So in my email to brands today, I did say that I don't think brands should be doing gifting without opting in. I think that like the brands sending you guys a bunch of shit without talking to you and having a relationship with you is a big part of the problem. So I'm structuring this on when a brand does the right thing and they reach out to you first and you say, sure, send it along. So in that scenario, they send it along. If the product doesn't meet your expectations, right? If it doesn't fit, if you don't like it as much, if you use it, it's skincare, you use it for a bit and you're just not feeling it, I would honestly reach out to the brand and say, thanks so much, use the product, and like it didn't fit or the fit was a little off, keep me in mind for future things. I think proactively giving a reason, if you're not gonna post it for a specific reason and that reason is you didn't like the product, I would reach out to the brand and try and like gracefully tell them that, because they are going to follow up with you and you're gonna have to just like, your options are like lie or just like be a shithead and ghost them. So option 3, which is like saying something difficult of like, I didn't actually like the product, it felt cheap or something like that. Not it felt cheap, but like it wasn't exactly what I thought, it didn't fit, whatever, is a much more graceful way to kind of like get them off the trail. Now, if you accepted the product, you have to expect that brands are going to follow up. Did you like it? I hope you got it. You can preempt a lot of this stuff by being professional. When you get the product, reaching out to the brand, hey, received the package today, looking forward to like trying it out. Again, what your goal is here is to build a relationship, because like you can turn relationships into money. So in building a relationship, you want to be overly communicative because it will also show a level of professionalism that just generally doesn't exist in the influencer space. So you communicate, but yeah, understand that like the brand, even if they say they're not expecting you to post, they're expecting you to post. And you will have to either have a reason why you didn't post, because if we accept the fact that when brands send something and you say, sure, send it through, they're expecting you to post and you don't, no matter what, they're coming out of that feeling like you're an entitled brat and they're never going to work with you again. So I think you really need to be strategic in the stuff that you take and in managing those relationships and, and giving them, again, if the product is decent and you like it, like giving them at least a story is not that hard. Here's the reality of like adulthood. Even if you feel like people's expectations are unfair, they exist and you're being held to them. And so like know that and react to it. And like you can really set yourself apart in the influencer space in being communicative. And if you say, sure, send me a product, make sure to incorporate it in some way into your feed. Question number 3 is, what do I do afterwards? What do I do after, I've posted something or incorporated it, and how do I turn this into paid work? And something that I think influencers, you guys aren't thinking enough about is lifetime value of a customer. We've talked about that before, where like, it's not about optimizing for how much money can I get out of this brand today, but optimizing for how much money can I get out of this brand over the next 3 to 5 years. That is where you really unlock value. And you guys live in a world that is cyclical and is up and down. I talk to influencers all the time. They say like, 1 month I'll have 10 sponsored posts, and then over the next 2 months I'll have 3. And it's really up and down, and there's kind of boom and bust periods that are really frustrating. Well, one way to alleviate that kind of cyclical, bumpy nature of how you're making money is to build long-term partnerships with brands and build relationships with them and have those brands come back to you over and over again. And to build long-term partnerships, again, you have to think about the relationship in terms of what is the lifetime value of this customer and optimizing for that, not for the short term. So you've posted your post. Obviously, the first thing you need to do, as we said, is you've got to send a report, send the content, send the content through to them, show them if you got any DMs, highlight comments where people talked about the product. Whatever you can do to make it look like your audience really, really resonated with this product and with this collaboration, the better. And then you have to ask for the sale. You always have to say, like, if you hadn't gotten on the phone with them yet, I would say, would love to get on the phone and talk about, projects you have coming down the pipeline. If you feel like you already have a relationship with them, even when you send them that report saying like, hey, love for you to keep me in mind as you do have budget moving forward, and I'd love to be a part of any of the paid campaigns that you're working on. Like, if you don't ask for things, it is obviously much less likely that you are going to get them. So make sure you're asking for the sale, and make sure you are keeping a relationship up with that brand. We have brands that it's taken us 3 or 4 years to close them, and in those 3 or 4 years, we did work for free. We sent them lists, we sent them reports, we did a little favor here and there for them. Like, we didn't ask for the money right away because we felt like what we were doing is proving ourselves and building a relationship long term. Those relationships have ended up paying incredibly well for us. But it is because we took the long term, this is a marathon, not a sprint view. You really can turn a brand off pretty quickly by trying too soon to extract money out of the relationship. It is a little different if you're sitting at 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 followers, because there is just an inherent value to those posts that is hard to deny. And there is only so much content you can post in such giving it free to someone else means you can't charge another brand. But that said, all the successful big influencers I know are posting for free, posting about brands for free constantly, because they're savvy and they know that, like, what better way to get someone's attention than giving them something for free that's worth $3,000 and saying, okay, well, I put my money where my mouth is. I gave you something, and now it is your turn to give me something. And that is, those are the levers that kind of make all of this stuff work, and you have to learn how to pull them and be strategic about it if you're going to be successful. So, as I said, I have my Madras blazer on for the first time this season. I've got 5 hours of drinking ahead of me, and I'm going to leave you now. So, thank you again to Design Hudson and William Farmer and Sons for bringing us up here and getting us out of the city air, and hopefully getting us nice and tipsy tonight. Cheers.